A mother walks through the dusty streets of her neighborhood, tightly holding her 7-year-old son's small hand, but what she doesn't know is that her life is about to change forever, when a group of bullies decides to make her their target. And she certainly doesn't imagine that someone very powerful is watching her from the shadows. Welcome back. Tell me what city you're watching from and what time it is there. Now listen to this story. Laura Hernandez is 29 years old, and every premature wrinkle on her face tells of a silent battle. She lives in Colonia San Miguel, one of those neighborhoods in Mexico City, where houses embrace each other as if they fear being alone. The streets smell of homemade food, of wet earth after rain, and of dreams that fight not to die. Every morning, at 5:30, Laura gets up in her small room that she shares with Mateo, her 7-year-old son. The boy's eyes shine with that innocence she swears to protect at any cost. The routine is always the same. Prepare breakfast with the few ingredients she has, get the little one ready for school, and walk 3 blocks to the bakery, El Corazón de Masa, where she's worked for 4 years. But this Tuesday morning will be different. Laura leaves her house holding Mateo's hand when she sees them. 5 young men, none older than 18, are leaning against the wall across the street. Their gazes follow her like hungry shadows. The tallest one, with a red cap tilted to the side, shouts at her from a distance. "Hey, spinster, where are you going so early with the kid?" Laura squeezes Mateo's hand and quickens her pace. Her heart beats hard, but she keeps her head high. She knows these boys. They're sons of the neighborhood, but they've grown up with twisted ideas about what it means to be a man. "Don't pay attention to them, mijo," she whispers to Mateo, who looks at her with those big eyes full of questions he doesn't know how to ask. The group of young men follows them a few meters behind. Their laughter is like knives cutting through the morning air. "What's up, Laura? Don't you have time to greet the neighbors?" She doesn't turn around. She's learned that responding only makes things worse, but inside something stirs like a caged animal. It's the same feeling she had when Mateo's father left her, when neighbors whispered behind her back, when the world seemed to conspire against her. Upon reaching Mateo's school, Laura crouches down to say goodbye to her son. She adjusts his backpack and gives him a kiss on the forehead. "Behave yourself, my love. I'll see you this afternoon." "Mummy, who were those men?" The question is a dagger straight to the heart. Laura smiles, but it's a smile that hurts. "Nobody important, my dear. Just some boys who have nothing better to do." When Mateo enters the school, Laura stands in front of the gate for a moment. The young men are no longer there, but she can feel that her peace has just been broken like fine crystal. The bakery El Corazón de Masa is a refuge. Between the 4 walls covered with yellow tiles, Laura feels safe. The smell of freshly baked bread embraces her like a memory of her grandmother, who taught her all the secrets of the trade. Don Ramiro, the owner, is a 60-year-old man with hands weathered by flour and time. He treats her like a daughter, and she respects him like the father she never had present. "Good morning, Laura. You look worried." "Good morning, Don Ramiro. It's nothing, just some boys from the neighborhood who are bothering me." The older man looks at her with that wisdom that comes with years. "Do you want me to talk to someone? I know their parents." Laura shakes her head while tying her white apron. "No, Don Ramiro. I don't want to create more problems. But the problems are already created, and they're growing. The next 2 weeks are a silent hell. Every morning the group of young men is there, waiting for her. Their comments become more daring, more hurtful. "Laura, beautiful. When are you going to get a man to support you properly? The boy needs a father figure, don't you think? I bet you feel lonely at night." Laura clenches her fists inside the pockets of her navy blue dress. Every word is a slap she must swallow for Mateo's sake. Because if she responds, if she defends herself, she knows everything can get worse. One afternoon she decides to do something she never wanted to do. She walks to the local police station, a gray building with dirty windows and broken plastic chairs at the entrance. The officer on duty is a man with a prominent belly, and eyes tired of always seeing the same problems. "How can I help you, ma'am? I want to file a harassment complaint." The officer sighs as if she had asked him to move a mountain. "Are they touching you? Have they hit you? Have they stolen anything from you?" "No, but they're bothering me every day." A government documentary? That's what she said. "Laura, do you understand what this means? That this is getting bigger than I ever imagined? That you've accomplished something incredible. You've built something people recognize as valuable, not just to this neighborhood, but to our culture in general." That night, Laura can't sleep. She keeps thinking about how far she's come from that frightened woman who was being harassed by a group of teenagers. Has it really been only 9 months? Sometimes change comes slowly, like bread rising. Other times it comes all at once, like the moment when you take the bread out of the oven and realize it's perfect. She's not the same person who used to walk to work with her head down, hoping nobody would notice her. She's not the same person who was afraid to accept help when it was offered. She's definitely not the same person who thought her only value was in being invisible. Now she's someone people seek out, someone whose opinion matters, someone who has created something valuable, not just for herself but for her community. The documentary crew arrives on a Tuesday morning in February. Laura has been nervous for weeks, but when she meets Patricia Mendoza in person, her anxiety starts to fade. Patricia is professional, but warm, clearly someone who understands the importance of what Laura has built. We'd like to film a typical day, Patricia explains. Classes, regular business, interactions with the community. We want to show how traditional skills can be preserved through grassroots education. They film for 3 days. Laura teaches her usual classes, serves regular customers, talks about her grandmother's techniques. But the most powerful moment comes when they film an interview with some of her students. Daniela, the little girl who used to barely speak, now talks confidently about how learning to bake has given her a place where I feel important. Miguel talks about how kneading dough helps him manage his anger. Sebastián, Kevin's younger brother, talks about his dream of opening his own bakery someday. And then they interview Kevin himself. This place saved my life, he says simply. Not just because it gave me work, but because it gave me respect. It showed me I could be someone worth respecting. The interview that affects Laura the most, though, is the one with Maria Ruiz. Before Laura, I thought my son Kevin was lost, Maria says to the camera. I thought maybe some people just can't change, but Laura saw something in him I couldn't see. She saw potential. She pauses, getting emotional. And not just in Kevin, in all these kids. She sees possibilities where other people see problems. When Patricia asks Laura for her final thoughts, she finds herself thinking about that first day when Kevin and his friends harassed her on the street. I used to think my job was just to survive, she says. Keep my head down, work hard, avoid trouble. But I learned that sometimes hiding isn't protecting yourself. Sometimes it's just hiding. And now I understand that when you have something valuable to share, you have a responsibility to share it. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who might benefit. The documentary airs 4 months later on national television. Laura watches it at home with Mateo, Alberto, Carmen and several students and their families. When it's over, the room is silent for several minutes. Finally, Mateo speaks up. Mommy, you're famous. Everyone laughs, breaking the emotional tension. But Laura understands this isn't about fame. It's about recognition. Recognition that the work she does matters, that the people she serves matter, that preservation of tradition is valuable work. Over the following weeks, Laura gets calls from all over Mexico, people who want to start similar programs in their communities, people who want to send their children to study with her, people who want to feature the bakery in other media. It's overwhelming, but it's also exciting. With Alberto's help, she develops a plan for sharing her program model with other communities, while maintaining the personal touch that makes her classes special. They create instruction materials, video tutorials, and training programs for other instructors. But the most satisfying development is closer to home. Carmen, her assistant, wants to open her own location in another part of the city. I've learned so much working with you, Carmen explains. Now I want to see if I can create the same type of community somewhere else. Laura feels proud, but also nervous. Are you sure you're ready? I've been thinking about it for months, and I've found the perfect space in Colonia Roma. Colonia Roma is more upscale than Laura's neighborhood. It would be a test to see if their model works with different demographics. I want to do it right, Carmen continues. The same scholarship programs, the same community focus. Alberto supports the expansion enthusiastically. This is exactly how good ideas spread. Until Laura se Laura Zamore. 6 months later, Carmen opens Corazón de Masa Roma Norte. Laura attends the grand opening, feeling proud but also slightly melancholic. Carmen has recreated everything perfectly. The warm atmosphere, the community bulletin board, the same type of clientele regardless of their economic background. But she's also adapted it for her community. There are classes specifically for working professionals who want to learn traditional techniques. There are weekend programs for busy parents. There is even a small cafe area where people can drink coffee while their children take classes. What do you think? Carmen asks nervously. I think it's perfect, Laura responds honestly. Same heart, different expression. By the end of that year, there are 5 Corazón de Masa locations throughout Mexico City. Each one is independently owned but shares the same philosophy. Excellent traditional food, community building, and educational opportunities for everyone. Laura realizes she has accidentally created something much bigger than a bakery. She has created a movement. The success changes her life in ways she never expected. She's now invited to speak at conferences about small business development and community organizing. She's consulted by government agencies about how to preserve cultural traditions through education. She's profiled in magazines as an example of innovative entrepreneurship. But the change that matters most to her is personal. She no longer walks with her head down. She no longer apologizes for taking up space. She no longer accepts disrespect from anyone. When she picks up Mateo from school now, other parents approach her for conversation. They ask for advice. They treat her like someone whose opinion matters. Mateo, now 8 years old, has grown into this new reality naturally. He helps at the bakery after school, not because he has to, but because he enjoys it. He's proud when people recognize his mother on the street. He talks about college with enthusiasm, knowing education is possible for him in ways that weren't obvious before. One afternoon, almost exactly 1 year after the documentary aired, Laura is teaching an advanced class when someone familiar walks through the door. It's Kevin, but he looks completely different. He's wearing clean clothes that fit well, his hair is neatly cut, and he carries himself with confidence that wasn't there before. Kevin, what are you doing here? I wanted to tell you something. He waits until her class takes a break, then approaches the counter where she's preparing materials for the next lesson. I got accepted. Accepted where? To culinary school. Universidad del Valle. Full scholarship. Laura can't believe what she's hearing. Full scholarship. For academic merit and community service. They said my work here with the classes and deliveries counted as valuable experience. Laura feels tears starting to form in her eyes. Kevin, that's incredible. I wanted to thank you for seeing something in me when I couldn't see it myself. You did the work. All I did was give you the opportunity. No, you did more than that. You treated me like I was worth something when I didn't think I was. He pauses, clearly emotional. And I wanted to ask you something. What? When I graduate, would you consider hiring me as a full instructor? I want to come back and help other kids like you helped me. Laura looks at this young man who once seemed like her enemy, who terrorized her on the street, who vandalized her workplace. Now he's standing here asking for the chance to dedicate his life to helping others. Oh, Kevin. Of course, she hugs him, something that would have been unimaginable just 2 years ago. After he leaves, Laura stands in the middle of her busy bakery and looks around. Students working with dough at the tables, laughing and learning. Carmen coordinating with delivery drivers. Alberto reviewing financial reports in the back office. Regular customers browsing through fresh bread while chatting with neighbors. Children's artwork hanging on the walls. A bulletin board full of success stories from former students. This is what success looks like. Not just financial success, although that's important too. Not just professional recognition, although that feels good. This is success because lives have been changed. Because a community has been strengthened. Because traditions have been preserved and passed on. Because people who felt invisible now feel valued. That evening, after everyone has gone home, Laura sits outside the bakery with Mateo. The streets are quiet, with only occasional sounds of normal life. Children playing, music from someone's radio, conversation from the ladies walking to evening mass. Mommy, Mateo says thoughtfully. Yes, my love? Do you remember when those boys used to be mean to us? I remember. Do you ever think about what would have happened if Alberto hadn't helped us? It's a profound question for an 8-year-old to ask. I think about it sometimes, Laura admits. But you know what I think? What? I think everything would have worked out some way. Maybe not exactly the same, but some way. Why? Because we didn't give up. We kept being brave even when things were hard. Mateo nods, processing this. And because when good people see others in trouble, usually they want to help. Like Alberto helped us. Like Alberto helped us. And like we help other people now. Earlier that day, Laura received a letter from the Ministry of Cultural Development. They want to create a national program based on her model, with funding that would allow hundreds of community bakeries and learning centers throughout Mexico. It's an opportunity beyond her wildest dreams. But it would also require her to travel extensively, to spend months away from Mateo, and from the daily work she loves. She hasn't decided yet what to do. Mateo, would you be okay if Mommy had to travel sometimes for work? Travel where? Different cities. To help other people start bakery programs like ours. Mateo considers this seriously. Would I come with you sometimes? Maybe sometimes, but not always. And who would take care of the bakery here? Carmen and Alberto. And maybe Kevin when he finishes school. And you would always come back? Always. This is our home. Mateo smiles. Then I think it's okay. Because you're really good at helping people, Mommy. That night, Laura makes her decision. She's going to accept the government partnership. She's going to help create bakery/learning centers throughout the country. She's going to train instructors and develop curriculum and visit communities that need support. Not because she wants to be famous or important, but because she has something valuable to offer and she has a responsibility to share it. The little girl who used to hide when trouble came near has become a woman who runs toward places where help is needed. 2 years later, there are 47 community bakery centers throughout Mexico, all following the model Laura developed. Each one is adapted for its local community, but all share the same core values: excellence, education, inclusion, and community building. Laura travels frequently now, but she always returns home to her original bakery in Colonia San Miguel. Mateo, now 10, has adjusted well to their new lifestyle. He's confident, curious, and proud of what his mother has accomplished. But he's also still just a child who loves to help make bread, and who gets excited about simple things like playing soccer with his friends. Alberto has become much more than a business partner. He's family, not in a romantic way, but in the way that matters most, someone who has chosen to share the important parts of life. Kevin graduated from culinary school at the top of his class, and returned to work at the original location. He's now the head instructor for advanced classes, and has become a mentor for young people others have given up on. His younger brother Sebastian, now 12, is already planning to attend culinary school when he's old enough. The documentary about Laura's work has been translated into 6 languages and shown internationally as an example of how traditional skills can be preserved through community education. But on this particular Tuesday morning in March, Laura isn't thinking about any of that. She's just standing in the kitchen of her bakery at 6 in the morning, wearing the same type of apron she's worn for years, doing exactly what she has always done, making bread. The routine is comforting. Measuring ingredients, mixing, kneading, shaping, but now she's not doing it just for survival. She's doing it for love. Love for the process. Love for the tradition. Love for what it represents. At 8, Mateo arrives before school, as he does every day. Good morning, Mommy. Good morning, my heart. Want to help me finish these conchas? They work together in comfortable silence, mother and son, hands covered in flour, sharing skills that have been passed down for generations. Through the front window, Laura can see the normal life of her neighborhood beginning. People walking to work, children going to school, ladies stopping to chat with each other. Some things never change, and she's grateful for that. At 9, her first class of the day arrives, a group of senior citizens who meet 3 times per week to make traditional breads from their childhoods. Today, Mrs. Garcia wants to perfect her technique for making bolillos. Don Eduardo is working on sweet empanadas. Mrs. Garcia wants to perfect her technique for making bolillos. Martinez has brought photos of breads her grandmother made in Puebla and wants to recreate them. These students aren't here just to learn skills. They're here for community, for purpose, for the joy of creating something beautiful with their hands. As Laura watches them work, she thinks about how much her understanding of success has changed. Once she thought success meant simply surviving without bothering anyone. Then she thought it meant achieving financial security for herself and Mateo. Later she thought it meant being recognized professionally for her skills. But now she understands that real success is much simpler and much more complex. It's creating something that makes life better not just for yourself but for everyone around you. It's taking your pain and using it to understand other people's pain. It's taking your skills and sharing them generously. It's taking your fear and transforming it into courage that helps other people be brave. At noon, the seniors go home with bags full of fresh bread, planning to return on Friday. Laura cleans up after them and prepares for her afternoon class, a group of teenagers from the local high school who are learning job skills. This program was Kevin's idea. He remembered how lost he felt at that age, and wanted to create opportunities for young people to discover they're capable of more than they realize. Among today's students is Daniela's older brother, who has been having trouble at school. Also Maria's nephew, who just moved here from a small town and doesn't know anyone yet. And 3 more kids Laura doesn't know but who were recommended by their teachers as needing extra support and encouragement. As they file in, looking somewhat reluctant and unsure, Laura remembers her own feelings of uncertainty. The fear of being judged, the worry about not being good enough, the assumption that opportunities like this weren't meant for people like her. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laura, and I'm very happy you decided to try this program. She looks around at their faces, some suspicious, some hopeful, some just confused about why they're here. Before we start, I want you to know something important. Everyone in this room has value. Everyone here has potential. And everyone here deserves respect. It's the same introduction she gives to every class, because it's the truth she wishes someone had told her when she was young and scared, and unsure of her place in the world. As the teenagers begin to relax and start working with the dough, Laura feels that familiar sense of satisfaction that comes from doing meaningful work. Outside the bakery, life continues. People walking, working, struggling, celebrating. A community made up of individual stories, individual dreams, individual challenges. But inside, during these few hours, this small space becomes something magical. A place where learning happens, where connections are made, where people discover capabilities they didn't know they had. This is what Laura has built. Not just a business, but a space where transformation is possible. It started with her own transformation. From invisible to visible, from powerless to empowered, from isolated to connected. But it didn't end there. It has rippled out to touch hundreds of lives, to preserve important traditions, to create opportunities that didn't exist before. As she watches these teenagers gradually become more comfortable, more confident, more engaged, Laura smiles. This is her life now. Not perfect, but meaningful. Not easy, but fulfilling. And it all started because someone saw her value when she couldn't see it herself. At the end of the class, one of the teenagers approaches her. "Mrs. Laura, can I ask you something?" "Of course. My mom works cleaning offices. She never learned to read very well. Do you think she could take classes here too?" Laura's heart expands. "Tell her to come talk to me whenever she wants. We'll figure something out." Because that's what they do here. They figure things out. They find ways to say yes. They look for possibilities instead of obstacles. That evening, after everyone has gone home, Laura locks up the bakery and begins her walk home. The same streets where she once hurried with her head down, hoping not to be noticed. Now she walks with purpose, greeting neighbors, stopping to chat, feeling completely at home in her community. At the corner where Kevin and his friends used to wait to harass her, she pauses. A group of young people is hanging out there tonight, but they wave when they see her. "Good night, Teacher Laura." "Good night, boys." Change is possible. People can grow. Communities can heal. You just have to be willing to see possibilities instead of only problems. When Laura reaches her home, Mateo is waiting with homework spread out on the kitchen table. "How was your day, Mommy?" "It was good, my love. And yours?" As they talk about school, about friends, about plans for the weekend, Laura feels a deep sense of contentment. This is where it all begins and ends. Home, family, the simple dailiness of caring for people you love.
Everything else, the business, the awards, the recognition, is wonderful, but this is what matters most. Later that evening, after Mateo goes to bed, Laura sits at her kitchen table with a cup of tea and thinks about the day. But mostly, she thinks about tomorrow. More classes to teach, more students to encourage, more bread to bake, more opportunities to make a difference, one person at a time. It's a good life, a life that started with fear, but has become one defined by hope. Do you know someone who has transformed their challenges into opportunities? Someone who took their pain and used it to help others? These stories remind us that change is possible at any age, that it's never too late to discover your own value, and that sometimes the people who seem the least likely to succeed are exactly the ones who have the most to offer. Laura's journey from invisible to indispensable didn't happen overnight, but it did happen, through small acts of courage, through willingness to accept help, through determination to pass on what she learned to others. If this story has touched your heart, give it a like and subscribe for more inspirational stories about people who found strength they didn't know they had. What story would you like to hear next? The yellow horrible things at me in front of my son. Ma'am, if there's no physical aggression or property damage, we can't do anything. They're just boys. It'll pass. Laura feels the world crashing down on her. Justice doesn't exist for people like her. For single mothers living day to day, who have no connections or contacts. She leaves the police station with red cheeks from humiliation, and eyes bright with contained tears. But that same afternoon, at the bakery, something changes. A man enters the establishment, just as Laura is arranging sweetbread in the display case. He's tall, athletic build, with black hair combed back, and a dark suit that looks expensive. But what draws the most attention are his eyes, deep, observant, and strangely familiar. "Good afternoon," he says with a deep but kind voice. "Could I take 6 chocolate conchas and 2 orejas?" Laura serves him with her usual professional courtesy, but there's something about this man that makes her uneasy. It's not fear, it's curiosity. "Is that all you're taking?" "For now, yes. But I think I'll be coming back often. This bread smells exactly like what my neighbor used to make when I was a child." The comment makes Laura look at him more carefully. "Are you from the neighborhood?" "I used to be. Many years ago. I lived on the back street, in a blue house that no longer exists." A bell of recognition rings in Laura's mind. "What's your name, sir?" "Alberto Mendoza." The surname resonates with her. Her grandmother had told her stories about a Mendoza family that lived nearby, about a very intelligent boy whose mother worked day and night to support him. "Was your mother named Rosa?" Alberto's eyes open with surprise. "Yes. How do you know?" "My grandmother was Esperanza Morales. She lived in the yellow house on the corner. She always told me about Doña Rosa and her studious little son." For the first time in weeks, Laura smiles genuinely. It's a smile that comes from the heart, not from courtesy. Alberto pays for the bread, and stands in front of the counter a few seconds longer than necessary. "Your grandmother was an extraordinary woman. She gave me many breads when my mother didn't have money to buy them. She always said that shared bread nourishes twice." She was right. When Alberto leaves, Laura is left thinking about life's coincidences. How someone can leave the neighborhood and return transformed into a completely different person. Because from his suit, from his polished shoes, From the way he walks, it's evident that Alberto Mendoza no longer belongs to the world of dusty streets and houses that embrace each other for fear of loneliness. The next day, Alberto returns, and the day after that too. He always orders the same thing, chocolate conchas and orejas. He always asks about the recipe, about ingredients, about the techniques Laura uses. His questions aren't casual, they're from someone who understands the value of tradition. During the third visit, Laura dares to ask what he does for work. I work with technology. I have a company that develops applications. The answer is vague, but Laura doesn't insist. She's learned to respect people's boundaries. What she doesn't know is that Alberto Mendoza is a millionaire, that his company is worth more money than Laura could imagine in her entire life, and that he's been observing her with more attention than she believes. Because Alberto has noticed the dark circles, the tension in her shoulders, the way Laura looks out the window when she thinks no one is watching. Friday morning, Laura leaves her house with Mateo as always. But this time, the group of young men is more aggressive. Hey Laura, you've got us fed up with your princess airs. The tall one, the one with the red cap, approaches closer than usual. My cousin told me you went to the police to cry about us. Really? Laura feels the air becoming thick. Mateo presses closer to her leg. I haven't talked to anyone about you. Don't lie to us. You know what? You've tired us out. You and your son are going to have to learn to respect us. The threat hangs in the air like toxic smoke. Laura squeezes Mateo's hand and walks faster, but she can hear the footsteps behind her. Her heart beats so hard she's sure the whole neighborhood can hear it. They reach the school without anything else happening, but Laura knows this is just the beginning. That afternoon, at the bakery, Alberto immediately notices something is wrong. Are you okay, Laura? You look worried. For the first time she feels the temptation to tell someone what's happening, but she stops herself. She can't involve a customer in her personal problems. I'm fine, thank you for asking. But Alberto isn't just any customer, and his intuition tells him Laura is lying. Excuse me if I'm intruding, but is someone bothering you? The question is so direct, so unexpected that Laura is left speechless for a moment.
Why do you ask that? Pues my mother was also a single mother, and I know how to recognize when a woman is carrying more weight than she should. Laura feels something breaking inside her chest. A small crack in the wall she's built around her heart. It's just some boys from the neighborhood. Nothing serious. Nothing serious. Laura, you haven't smiled since I arrived today, and I see you looking out the window every 5 minutes as if expecting something bad to happen. The observation is so precise that Laura can't deny it. I don't know what to do, she finally confesses. They're neighbors' children. If I do something, the whole neighborhood will find out, and I don't want Mateo to grow up with those tensions. Alberto nods, understanding. May I make a suggestion? Laura looks at him with distrust. She's learned to be wary of help that comes too easily. What kind of suggestion? Nothing complicated. Just, let me walk you home today, at a distance, just to make sure you get there safely. I can't ask you to do that. You don't owe me anything. It's not a debt. It's, let's say, a favor. I owe your grandmother. That afternoon, for the first time in weeks, Laura walks home without fear. Alberto follows her a block behind, pretending to check his phone. The young men are in their usual place, but when they see the well-dressed man walking the same route, they don't approach. Upon reaching her house, Laura turns and gives him a small gesture of thanks. Alberto responds with an almost imperceptible nod. That night Laura sleeps better than she has in months. But the problems are far from over. Monday morning, Alberto doesn't appear at the bakery. Not Tuesday. Not Wednesday. Laura tells herself it shouldn't matter, that he was just a customer, but the sense of protection she felt during those days fades like sugar in water, and the young men notice. Thursday morning, when Laura goes out with Mateo, the one with the red cap has a smile that chills her blood. Where's your bodyguard, Laura? Did he get tired of playing hero? Laura doesn't respond, but feels her legs trembling. I think it's time you had a serious conversation with us. That phrase haunts her all day like a malevolent shadow. Friday night, Laura is cleaning the bakery's display cases when she hears someone knocking on the glass door. It's Alberto, but he looks different, more casual, in jeans and a light blue shirt. Sorry for coming so late. Could we talk for a moment? Laura opens the door cautiously. Did something happen? I want to apologize for not coming these past days. I had to travel for work, but I didn't stop thinking about what you told me. They stand at the bakery entrance, with the aroma of cinnamon and vanilla floating between them. I've been thinking about your situation, and I think I have a proposal. Laura feels her stomach tighten. Mr. Mendoza, Alberto. Please, call me Alberto. Alberto, I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's an investment. The word sounds strange in that context. Excuse me, you make the best traditional bread I've tasted in years, and I think this business has potential that nobody is seeing.
Laura looks at him with distrust. What are you talking about? What would you think if I told you I want to help you expand the bakery? Not as an owner, but as an investor. You maintain control. I provide the capital. The proposal is so unexpected that Laura needs to sit in one of the plastic chairs Don Ramiro keeps for customers. I don't understand why you'd want to do that. Alberto sits across from her. Because I've seen what happens when communities lose their traditions. My company is worth a lot of money, but it's worth nothing if there's no place to return to. Do you think I need your pity? The question comes out sharper than Laura intended. On the contrary, I think you're exactly the type of person worth investing in. Someone who fights, who preserves traditions, who teaches by example. Laura feels something moving in her chest. It's not gratitude, it's an emotion she had buried very deep. And what would happen to my job here? Don Ramiro has been very good to me. Don Ramiro could be our first partner. This bakery could become the first location of a chain that preserves traditional Mexican techniques. The idea is so big that Laura can't fully process it. I need to think about it. Of course. But while you think about it, I'd like to ask you a favor. Which one? Let me install some security cameras outside the bakery, and some additional lights. Just as a precaution. Laura is about to protest, but Alberto raises his hand. It's free, and it's temporary. Just until those boys get bored of bothering you. That night, Laura can't sleep. She tosses and turns in bed thinking about Alberto's proposal. On one hand, it's the opportunity of her lifetime. On the other, it means depending on someone else, and she's worked very hard to be independent.
Mateo moves in bed and murmurs something in his sleep. Laura watches him, with his angelic little face illuminated by the streetlight filtering through the window. Everything she does is for him. All her decisions pass through the filter of what's best for her son. Would it be better to accept Alberto's help, or would it be better to keep fighting alone? Saturday morning, Laura wakes up with a decision made. She's going to accept the proposal, but with clear conditions. She gets herself and Mateo ready more carefully than usual. Today they're going to the bakery, even though it's not a work day. She wants to talk to Don Ramiro and Alberto at the same time. But when they reach the main street, Laura freezes. The bakery El Corazón de Masa is full of graffiti. The windows are broken. At the door there's a torn garbage bag, with waste scattered all over the entrance. Laura feels the world swaying. Mateo presses against her leg, scared. Mommy, what happened to the bakery? She can't answer. Her throat has closed completely. Don Ramiro is standing in front of his business, with his hands on his hips, and an expression of absolute devastation. Laura, sweetheart, you didn't have to come today. Don Ramiro, what happened? The older man points to the graffiti with a mixture of sadness and rage. They came last night. I think it was the same boys who have been bothering you. On one of the walls someone wrote in black paint, so you learn to respect. Laura feels her legs weakening. Her whole world, everything she's worked for, is destroyed. Did you call the police? Yes, but you know how they are. They said they're going to investigate, but he doesn't need to finish the sentence. They both know nothing will happen. At that moment Alberto arrives. His expression changes dramatically when he sees the state of the bakery. When did this happen? Last night. Don Ramiro responds. Or early morning. We don't know exactly. Alberto looks at Laura. She's trembling. Not from cold but from helplessness. Are you okay? Did they do anything to you? We're fine. But the business. Laura can't finish the sentence. Her voice breaks and tears start rolling down her cheeks. It's the first time she cries in front of Alberto. The first time she allows herself to be vulnerable in front of someone else. Mateo hugs her around the waist, confused but supportive of his mother's pain. Don't cry, Mommy. We're going to fix the bakery. The child's innocent words are a dagger in Laura's heart, because she knows they don't have money to repair all of that. Alberto approaches and puts a gentle hand on Laura's shoulder. Will you let me help you? This time she nods. She no longer has the strength to say no. We're going to fix this. We're going to leave it better than it was. But it's going to cost a lot of money. Laura, look carefully. Alberto points upward. In the corners of the building, almost imperceptible, there are small black cameras. I installed them last night. After our conversation, everything was recorded. For the first time in hours, Laura feels a spark of hope. You saw them? We saw them perfectly. Their faces, their clothes, even the license plates of the car they arrived in. Don Ramiro smiles for the first time all morning. Does this mean that? This means they're going to pay for what they did. And it also means the bakery will reopen stronger than it was before. During the next 2 weeks, the transformation is incredible. Alberto doesn't just pay for repairs. He hires the best workers in the neighborhood to make improvements. The bakery not only recovers its original appearance but looks better than ever. They install new windows with more resistant glass. They paint the walls a more vibrant yellow. They change the floor to artisanal tiles that reflect Mexican tradition.
And most importantly, they install a complete system of cameras and alarms that's connected directly with a private security company. Laura observes the entire process with a mixture of gratitude and anxiety. On one hand, she's excited to see the business grow. On the other, she's afraid of losing control of her own life. One afternoon, while supervising the last repairs, Alberto approaches her. "How do you feel?" "Overwhelmed," Laura responds honestly. "All this is much more than I expected." In a good way or bad way, Laura thinks before responding. "Both. I'm scared of getting used to this, and then you changing your mind." Alberto looks at her with that intensity she's noticed from the beginning. "Laura, I want to tell you something about my childhood." They sit in 2 chairs in front of the renovated bakery. "When I was Mateo's age, my father abandoned us. My mother worked as a domestic employee during the day and cleaned offices at night. There were days we didn't eat." Laura listens attentively. It's the first time Alberto talks about his personal past. "The neighbors saw us as a problem family."
The boy without a father. The suffering mother. Sometimes when we went to the market, I heard how the ladies whispered about us. And how did that feel? Like we were transparent. Like we didn't deserve respect for being poor. Laura nods. She knows that feeling perfectly. One day your grandmother found me crying in the street because some boys had taken the money my mother had given me to buy tortillas. Do you know what she did? What? She took me to her house, fed me, and then went to talk to the boys. She didn't scold them. She explained that hurting others wouldn't make them feel better about themselves. The story paints a completely different image of Laura's grandmother. Not just the loving woman she remembered, but someone who deeply understood human pain. That day I promised myself that if I ever had the opportunity to return that kind of kindness, I would. And that's why you're helping me? I'm helping you because I see in you the same thing your grandmother saw in me. Someone who deserves an opportunity. Laura feels something loosening in her chest. A tension she's been carrying since the first day. Alberto appeared at the bakery. "Okay," she finally says, "I accept your proposal. But with one condition." "Which one?" "If this works, if the bakery grows, I want it to be to help other women like me. Single mothers, women who need an opportunity." Alberto smiles. It's the first completely genuine smile Laura has seen on his face. "That sounds perfect to me." While they talk, neither notices that the one with the red cap is watching them from the corner. His expression isn't mocking like before. It's worried, because the cameras didn't just record the vandalism, they also recorded their conversations, and now he knows they messed with the wrong person. The reopening of the bakery is like a neighborhood celebration. Alberto suggests having a community event, not just to show the improvements, but to integrate the neighbors into the project. Laura feels nervous the morning of the event. She's invited everyone, neighbors, old customers, even some mothers from Mateo's school who normally ignore her. He's prepared all the traditional breads he knows how to make. Conchas, orejas, cuernitos, cocoles. Laura has made something special. Sweet bread with shapes representing Mexican traditions. Edible marigolds for Day of the Dead. Small suns representing Aztec culture. Little nopal cactuses made of dough that taste like anise. When she opens the doors at 10 in the morning, she can't believe what she sees. There's a line of people waiting outside. Entire families, children running, elderly ladies with their shawls. Alberto is standing next to the entrance, dressed more casually than usual, greeting people as if he were just another neighbor. "Ready?" he asks Laura. She nods, although she feels butterflies in her stomach. The first hours of the event are perfect. People try the breads, congratulate the improvements, ask about prices. Several neighbors who had never entered the bakery show genuine interest in the business. Mateo runs between the tables with other children, laughing and playing. It's the first time in months that Laura sees him completely carefree. But around noon they appear. The 5 young men enter the establishment as if nothing had happened. The one with the red cap, who Laura now knows is named Kevin, approaches the counter with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "How beautiful the bakery turned out, Laura. It looks very expensive." The comment stops all conversations. Neighbors turn to see what's happening. Laura feels her blood freezing, but stands firm. "How can I help you?" "We just wanted to congratulate you on your..." Kevin looks toward Alberto, who is serving a family near the tables. "You must be very grateful to him." The insinuation is clear and disgusting. Laura feels her cheeks burning with humiliation. Don Ramiro stands up from where he was serving coffee. "Boys, if you're not going to buy anything, I'm going to ask you to leave. We're in a free country, Don. We can be wherever we want." At that moment, Alberto approaches. His expression is calm, but Laura can see the tension in his jaw. "Is there a problem?" Kevin turns toward him with that fake smile. "No problem, boss. We're just admiring what can be bought with money. Everything in this bakery was paid for with honest work." Sure, Laura's work must be very special. The insult is so obvious that several neighbors show shocked expressions. Alberto takes a step forward. "I don't think we've been formally introduced. I'm Alberto Mendoza.
He extends his hand as if it were a normal greeting, but Kevin can see it's not an invitation but a challenge. Kevin Ruiz. Nice to meet you, Kevin. I hope you enjoy the event. Oh, I'm enjoying it very much. The tension in the room is tangible.
The neighbors have formed a semicircle around the scene, watching but no one knowing exactly what to do. At that moment something unexpected happens. An elderly lady, Doña Carmen, who lives at the end of the street, stands up. Kevin Ruiz, aren't you ashamed? All eyes turn to her. This girl has worked honestly all these years. She's raised her son alone, with dignity, and you come here to disrespect her in her own business. Kevin looks uncomfortable for the first time. Doña Carmen, you didn't nothing. I've known your mother since you were little. What would she think if she knew how you talk to Laura? Another neighbor, a middle-aged man, also stands up. The lady is right. Laura has always been respectful with all of us. And then another person, and another. In a matter of minutes, the entire event has become a spontaneous defense of Laura. Kevin looks around and realizes the entire community is against him. This isn't going to end here, he mumbles. But he no longer sounds as sure as before. He leaves the establishment with his friends, but Laura can see in his eyes that something has changed. When they leave, the atmosphere of the event changes completely. The neighbors approach Laura to express their support. Some tell her they've also been victims of the boys, but had never dared to say anything. Doña Carmen takes Laura's hands in hers. Sweetheart, never let anyone make you feel less than what you are. It's the most emotional moment of the day. Laura feels that for the first time in years, she truly belongs to this community. Alberto observes from the side, with an expression of satisfaction that goes beyond business. That night, when they're cleaning up after the event, Laura and Alberto talk about what happened. I didn't expect the neighbors to defend me like that. Why not? I always thought they saw me as an outsider. The single mother, the woman who acts like she's so hardworking. People recognize authenticity, Laura. You've never pretended to be someone you're not. Laura smiles while cleaning the tables. You know what? I think today was the happiest day I've had in a long time. Even with Kevin's problem? Especially because of that. Because I realized I'm not alone. Alberto nods, understanding. Are you ready for the next phase of the project? What next phase? The workshops. Laura stops cleaning and looks at him with curiosity. What workshops? Traditional baking workshops. For children, for young mothers, for anyone interested in learning the techniques you handle. The idea sounds incredible, but also intimidating. Alberto, I'm not a teacher. You don't need to be a formal teacher. You just need to share what you know. Laura thinks about her grandmother, about all the afternoons she spent learning bread-making secrets. Do you think people would be interested? After what I saw today? I'm sure. That night Laura stays awake making plans. For the first time in years, she's thinking about the future with excitement instead of fear. The workshops begin 3 weeks later. Laura decides to start small. 2 classes per week. One for children on Saturday mornings, another for adults on Wednesday afternoons. To her surprise, both classes fill up quickly. The children arrive with aprons too big, and eyes full of curiosity. Laura teaches them basic techniques, how to measure flour, how to knead without hurting their hands, how to recognize when dough is ready. But most importantly, she tells them stories, the same stories her grandmother told her. Every bread has a story, she tells them while they work the dough. Day of the Dead bread connects us with our ancestors. Conchas remind us that life can be sweet even in difficult moments. Mateo is one of the most enthusiastic students, not just because he's the teacher's son, but because he genuinely loves the process. During one of the children's classes, something unexpected happens. Kevin appears at the workshop door. He doesn't enter, just observes from outside with a curious expression. Laura notices but pretends she hasn't seen him. She continues with the class, teaching the children how to make small dough figures. After the children leave with their parents, Kevin enters the establishment. Can I talk to you? Laura looks toward Alberto, who is organizing some supplies at the back of the store. It's okay, Alberto tells her. I'll be here if you need me. Kevin looks different. He's not wearing the red cap, and his attitude isn't confrontational like before. How can I help you? I wanted to apologize. The words come out awkwardly, as if he'd never had to say that before. For everything I did to you and your son. Laura studies his face, trying to determine if he's sincere. Why now? Kevin looks at the floor. Because my mom found out. About everything. About what we did to the bakery. About how I talked to you. He pauses, clearly uncomfortable. She told me if I didn't come apologize personally, she was going to kick me out of the house. And you're only apologizing because your mom forced you? It's a fair question. And Kevin knows it. No, I mean, yes, it started because of that. But then I saw the class you were giving. To the children. He looks up at Laura. My little brother has been asking if he can come. He's 8 years old. Laura feels something stirring in her chest. It's not forgiveness yet, but something similar. And what did you tell him? I told him no, because I thought you wouldn't want him after everything that happened. But he wants to come. He's obsessed with the idea. He says he wants to learn to make bread like his grandmother. Laura looks toward the kitchen, where she can see leftover supplies from the day's workshop. What's your brother's name? Sebastian. Okay, he can come next Saturday. Kevin looks surprised. Really? Children aren't responsible for their older brother's mistakes. It's obvious, but the way Laura says it, without resentment, but with firmness, makes Kevin understand she's taking this seriously. Thank you, I really appreciate it. He starts to leave, but stops at the door. Laura, is there something I can do to make up for the damage to the bakery? Alberto appears from the back of the store, clearly having heard the conversation. Funny you should ask that. He says, we were needing someone to help with ingredient deliveries. It's heavy work, but it pays fairly. Kevin looks surprised. You'd be offering me a job? We're offering you a chance, Laura corrects, but it has to be a real chance. None of that attitude you had before. Kevin nods earnestly. I understand. I really need this. Why? Because I need to prove I can change. To my mom, to my brother, to myself. The following Saturday, Sebastian Ruiz appears at the workshop with a small apron and a smile that lights up the entire room. It's immediately obvious that Kevin had been telling the truth. The boy is fascinated by every aspect of the process. Can I put my own hands in the dough? He asks with excitement that reminds Laura of Mateo when he was younger. Of course, my love. But first we're going to wash our hands very well. While the children work, Laura notices that Kevin is outside, but he's not just hanging around doing nothing. He's unloading bags of flour from a truck, working with genuine effort. During the following week, Kevin shows up every day at the agreed schedule. Never late, never making excuses. He works mostly in silence, but Laura can see he's paying attention to everything that happens in the bakery. Alberto also notices the change. I think the only thing Kevin needed was a chance to feel useful. You think so? I know so. The same thing happened to me when I was young. Sometimes bad behavior is just misdirected energy. The relationship between Laura and Kevin doesn't get better overnight. There's still tension, still careful politeness, but it's progress. Better yet, Sebastian becomes one of the workshop's most dedicated students. Every Saturday he arrives early and stays late, asking questions about everything. One afternoon, after the workshop, Sebastian approaches Laura with a very serious expression. Mrs. Laura, can I ask you something? Of course, dear. Do you think I could be a baker when I grow up? The question touches something deep in Laura's heart. I think you could be anything you want to be, Sebastian. It's just that, at home, everyone always says I have to study to be a doctor or lawyer. But I love making bread. Laura sits down to be at his level. You know what? Some of the most important people in the world are those who feed others. Bakers, chefs, people who grow the food we eat. It's very noble work. Really, really. And you know what else? You could study business too, and then open your own bakery. Or you could be a chef. Or you could teach other people to make bread, like I'm doing. The boy's face lights up. I never thought of that. About 4 months after the workshop started, Laura gets a surprise visit from a woman she doesn't recognize. She's a lady in her 40s, well-dressed but not flashy, with an expression that mixes nervousness and determination. Are you Laura Hernandez? Yes. How can I help you? I'm Maria Ruiz, Kevin and Sebastian's mother. Laura feels an instant spike of anxiety. She doesn't know what to expect. My son Sebastian doesn't stop talking about your classes. He's a very good student. Yes, but that's not really why I'm here. Maria looks around the bakery, taking in the improvements, the workshop setup. I want to thank you for what you've done with my sons. Both of them. Laura is confused. I don't understand. Kevin had been in trouble for years. Bad friends, bad attitude, no respect for anyone. Maria pauses, gathering her thoughts. After what has happened here, after you gave him work, is different. I'm glad to hear that. No, you don't understand. He's completely different. He comes home on time. He helps around the house. He plays with Sebastian instead of ignoring him. Laura can see Maria is getting emotional. And Sebastian, for the first time in his life, he has a passion. Something that excites him to get up in the morning. Children need to feel they're good at something. Exactly. But you saw that in my son when I couldn't. Maria reaches into her purse and takes out an envelope. I brought this. Laura takes the envelope, confused. What is it? It's payment. For all the classes Sebastian has taken. I know you've been doing this for free, but I can't accept charity. Laura starts to protest, but Maria raises her hand. Please, let me do this. I need to feel like I'm contributing. Laura opens the envelope. There's more money inside than she expected. Mrs. Ruiz,
This is too much. No, it's exactly the right amount, for the classes, and for what you did for Kevin. I didn't do anything special for Kevin. You gave him dignity. You treated him like a person who could change, instead of just a problem to avoid. That night Laura and Alberto count the money from Maria. It's enough to start a scholarship program, Alberto says. What do you mean? Classes for kids whose families can't afford to pay. The idea immediately resonates with Laura. Do you think it would work? I think it would be perfect. They decide to start small. Free classes for any child in the neighborhood who wants to learn, regardless of their family's finances. The first scholarship class includes Sebastian, of course, but also 3 other children from families Laura knows struggle economically. One of them is Daniela, a 9-year-old girl whose mother works double shifts and barely has time for meals, much less for teaching cooking skills. Another is Miguel, whose father left recently and whose mother is still adjusting to being suddenly single. The third is Lupita, who lives with her grandmother because her parents work in another city. During the first scholarship class, Laura realizes these children need more than just baking instructions. They need emotional support. Daniela is withdrawn, barely speaks. Miguel is angry, constantly getting frustrated when things don't work perfectly on the first try. Lupita seems sad, as if carrying a weight too heavy for her age. Laura adjusts her teaching approach. Instead of just focusing on techniques, she starts incorporating activities that help the children express themselves. Today we're going to make bread that represents how we're feeling, she announces during one class. How maybe? If you're sad, maybe you make a rain shape. If you're happy, maybe a sun. If you're confused, maybe something abstract. The children look uncertain at first, but gradually start getting creative. Daniela makes a small bird shape. Why a bird? Laura asks gently. Because I wish I could fly away sometimes. It's the most Daniela has said during any class. Miguel makes an angry-looking lion. I'm mad all the time, he admits. About my dad. Lupita makes a tiny house with extra windows. So my parents can see me from far away, she explains. Laura feels tears in her eyes but manages to control them. These children are carrying adult-sized pain in their small hearts. She spends the rest of the class helping each one understand that their feelings are valid, but that they don't have to carry those feelings alone. After class, Alberto finds her sitting quietly at one of the tables. Everything okay? Just thinking about those kids, about how much pain they carry, and thinking about some other little girl who felt the same way. Alberto's question goes straight to her heart. Does it show? Only because I know what to look for. Laura realizes this has become much more than a business. It's become a calling, a way to heal not just other people but also herself. Alberto, I want to expand the scholarship classes. How much more? Anyone who needs it. Adults too. Adults, single mothers, grandparents raising children alone. Anyone who could use a safe space to learn something new and connect with other people. Alberto smiles with that expression she's learned, means he's truly proud. Tell me what you need. Over the next month, they expand dramatically. Laura now teaches 6 classes per week. Children's basic classes, advanced children's classes, adult beginner classes, classes specifically for single parents, and even a class for seniors. The bakery has been transformed from a simple neighborhood business into a community center. Don Ramiro, who initially worried about all the changes, is now completely supportive. Laura, sweetheart, this is what your grandmother would have wanted. She always said the most flavorful bread is the one shared with everyone. But growth also brings new challenges.
The bakery is now so busy that Laura barely has time for anything else. She's teaching classes, managing the business side, developing new recipes, and still trying to be a good mother to Mateo. One evening she's cleaning up after the last class when she realizes she hasn't had a real conversation with Mateo in days. That night after Mateo goes to bed, she sits down with Alberto to talk about the problem. I think I'm losing sight of what's important. What do you mean? I started this to give Mateo a better life, but now I'm so busy I barely see him. Alberto listens thoughtfully. What does Mateo say? That's the problem. He doesn't complain. He adapts. But I can see he misses having me to himself sometimes. Maybe it's time to hire help. I can't afford to pay someone else's salary yet. Actually, you can. The numbers are good enough now. Laura looks surprised. She hasn't been paying close attention to the finances, trusting Alberto to handle them. Really? In fact, I think you might want to consider opening a second location. The suggestion is shocking. Alberto, I can barely manage what we have now. That's exactly why you need help. Good delegation is a sign of success, not failure. But I'm scared of losing control. Control is different from involvement. You can still be involved in every decision without doing every task yourself. That weekend, Laura takes Mateo on a special day just for the two of them. They go to the park, see a movie, eat ice cream. During lunch she asks him how he feels about all the changes. I like that you're happy, Mommy. But do you miss having me home more? Mateo thinks carefully before answering. with that seriousness that sometimes makes him seem older than 7. Sometimes. But I also like seeing you teach other people. And I like that everyone in the neighborhood knows my mom is smart. His words hit her unexpectedly hard. Do you feel proud of what mommy does? Very proud. I tell everyone at school that my mom teaches people to make the best bread in the world. Laura realizes she's been so focused on what she might be doing wrong that she hasn't noticed what she's been doing right. That Monday she makes 2 important decisions. First, she's going to hire an assistant to help with the classes. Second, she's going to involve Mateo more in the business when it's appropriate, so he feels included instead of left out. She starts by looking for someone qualified to be an instructor. After interviewing several people, she finds Carmen, a woman in her early 30s who went to culinary school but has struggled finding work because she doesn't have family connections in high-end restaurants. Carmen is patient, skilled, and understands the community atmosphere Laura wants to maintain. I'm not looking for someone to just teach techniques, Laura explains during the interview. I need someone who understands this is about more than bread. It's about giving people confidence and community. I understand completely, Carmen responds. That's exactly the type of work I want to do. Carmen starts part-time, taking over some of the basic classes while Laura focuses on advanced classes and business management. Almost immediately, Laura feels the difference. She has time to breathe again, time to pay attention to Mateo, time to think strategically about the future instead of just reacting to whatever crisis of the day. With Carmen helping, Laura also has time to notice things she had been missing, like the fact that Kevin has been quietly excelling in his work. He's now trusted enough that Alberto lets him handle money transactions and inventory management. Like the fact that several of her adult students have started talking about opening their own small food businesses. Like the fact that the scholarship classes have attracted attention from other parts of the city. One afternoon, Laura gets a call that changes everything. To Mrs. Hernandez. This is Patricia Mendoza from the Ministry of Cultural Development. We've heard about your work preserving traditional Mexican baking techniques. Laura is so surprised she almost drops the phone. Excuse me, we'd like to discuss the possibility of featuring your bakery in a documentary about grassroots cultural preservation. A documentary, and possibly providing government funding to expand your educational programs. Laura has to sit down. I don't understand. Your work has been brought to our attention by several sources, community leaders, local business owners, even some of your students who contacted us directly. After Patricia hangs up, Laura stares at the phone for several minutes. Alberto finds her still sitting there when he arrives for their weekly business meeting. Everything okay? You look like you saw a ghost. Something like that. She tells him about the call.